kingdoms. On the 24th of July, 1148 A.D., the greatest Crusader army ever assembled camped in the orchards around Damascus. Its leaders had some successes over the next couple of days, but the Damascenes fought back with fierce determination, and soon enough the Crusaders were forced to pack up camp. But Turkoman horsemen hung upon their flanks as they withdrew, raining down arrows, and the retreat rapidly turned into a rout. After this battle, the German Franks returned, wrote the Arab historian who had so dreaded their arrival, to their country which lies over yonder, and God rid the faithful of this calamity. It was not until 1942, the very summer when Khalaf's letter slipped quietly into 20th-century print, that the Middle East again saw so great and varied a gathering of foreigners. Nowhere were there more than in the area around Alexandria. The Africa Corps and the Italian Sixth Army, under the command of Erwin Rommel, were encamped a bare 40 miles from the city, waiting for their orders for the final push into Egypt, and in the city itself the soldiers of the British Eighth Army were still arriving. From every corner of the world, India, Australia, South Africa, Britain, and America. That summer, while the fates of the two armies hung in the balance, Alexandria was witness to the last, most spectacular burst of cosmopolitan gaiety for which the city was once famous. Within this tornado of grand designs and historical destinies, Khalaf ibn Ishaq's letter seems to open a trapdoor into a vast network of foxholes, where real life continues uninterrupted. Khalaf was probably well aware of the events taking place farther north. The city he lived in, Aden, served as one of the principal conduits in the flow of trade between the Mediterranean and the Indian Ocean, and Khalaf and his fellow merchants had a wide network of contacts all over North Africa, the Middle East, and southern Europe. They made it their business to keep themselves well informed. From season to season they followed the fluctuations of the prices of iron, pepper, and cardamom in the markets of Cairo. They were always quick to relay news to their friends, wherever they happened to be, and they are sure to have kept themselves well abreast of the happenings in Syria and Palestine. But now, in the summer of 1148, writing to Abraham ben Yiju in Mangalore, Khalaf spends no time on the events up north. He begins by giving his friend news of his brother, Mubashir, who has set off unexpectedly for Syria, letting him know that he is well. Then he switches to business. He acknowledges certain goods he has received from Ben Yiju, a shipment of areca nuts, 2 locks manufactured in India, and 2 bowls from a brass factory in which Ben Yiju has an interest. He informs Ben Yiju that he is sending him some presents with the letter, things which have no price and no value. The list seems to hint at a sweet tooth in Ben Yiju. 2 jars of sugar, a jar of almonds, and 2 jars of raisins, altogether 5 jars. It is only at the very end of the letter that the slave makes his entry. Khalaf ibn Ishaq makes a point of singling him out and sending him plentiful greetings. That is all. No more than a name and a greeting. But the reference comes to us from a moment in time when the only people for whom we can even begin to imagine properly human, individual existences are the literate and the consequential, the wazirs and the sultans, the chroniclers and the priests, the people who had the power to inscribe themselves physically upon time. But the slave of Khalaf's letter was not of that company. In his instance, it was a mere accident that those barely discernible traces that ordinary people leave upon the world happened to have been preserved. It is nothing less than a miracle that anything is known about him at all. 31 years were to pass before the modern world again caught a glimpse of the slave of MSH6. The so-called Yom Kippur War was just over, and the price of oil had risen 370% in the course of a single year. The slave's second appearance, like his first, occurs in a letter by Khalaf ibn Ishaq, written in Aden, one that happened to be included in a collection entitled Letters of Medieval Jewish Traders, translated and edited by Professor S.D. Goitein of Princeton University. Like the other letter, this one too is addressed to Abraham ben Yiju in Mangalore, but in the 31 years that have passed between the publication of the one and the other, the slave has slipped backwards in time.